Homework 2.8, distance, midpoint, and circles, video 2, Friday. Homework due Friday, May 22nd, 2020 at 11:59 p.m. Two comments. Number one, I feel like I owe you at least one example of actually using the distance formula. And number two, when I went to pause the previous video, I noticed that my tripod had slid a little bit, so I hope everything in the last video was captured adequately. So let's take a look at one more distance formula problem. Find the distance between these 2 points, which do have decimals but doesn't change anything. And here's our distance formula. Using the distance formula is pretty straightforward. All you have to do is set it up properly and insert the values, then run with it. As far as setting it up properly, one piece of advice is to write everything except the letters. So for example, there's a plus in the middle with parentheses on either side. Both parentheses are squared, and in the middle of each parentheses is a subtraction problem. But I'm not going to write x2, x1, y2, or y1. Rather, I'm going to identify them in the problem and directly substitute them. For example, let's identify our players. If we call this first x x1, which is perfectly reasonable, then this would be y1, x2, and y2. Now let's just plug and play. First value is x2. x2 is 2.2, so that will go to the left of the first subtraction sign. The second value is x1. That's 7.2. That will go to the right of the first subtraction sign. The next value is y2. That's negative 4.1. That will go to the left of the next subtraction sign. And the last value is y1. That's negative 16.1. That will go to the right of the second subtraction sign. Believe it or not, a lot of people make a mistake at the very beginning by putting numbers in the incorrect place. That's just being careless. Don't do it. Now, as far as cleaning it up, there's a lot going on. But in order, you subtract, square, add, and then square root. So let's start with the subtract. Inside of each parenthesis is a subtraction problem. If you subtract 2 minus 7.2, you get negative 5.2. In the other parenthesis, no you don't. You get exactly negative 5. Durr. In the second parenthesis, we have minus and negative, so we should probably change it to a plus a positive. And when you combine negative 4.1 and positive 16.1, you get exactly 12. You can use a calculator to do that. You don't have to do it mentally. Next move is to square. The square root of negative 5 squared is 25. 12 squared is 144. Now, at this point, you might be tempted to square root both the 25 and the 144. Do not. As I've said multiple times before, you cannot distribute a square root across a plus sign. You must do the addition first if you're going to do the square root. 25 plus 144 is 169, and you may not recognize that as 13 squared, but it is. And if you put it in a calculator, it will confirm that the distance between those 2 points is exactly 13. So the distance formula is pretty straightforward. Just watch your signs, watch the insertion of the values, and make sure you work it out in the correct order. Subtract, square, add, and then square root.